Hey, cats. What's good with you? Good morning. Today we're going to talk a little bit about, the whole green scam that's going on, wastefulness, and I'm going to show you what happens when a real statesman gets a hold of some of these lizards trying to push it, all right? But you know the deal. You want to hear it? Here you go.
Well, let me run it down to you, communist, homosexual, faggot, dipshit, motherfucker. Fuck you! That's why! 'Cause fuck you! That's why! 'Cause helmets suck! That's why! And commies like you swallow! That's why! Fuck Pete Wilson! That's why!
Welcome in, cats. So, like I said, we're going to talk a little bit about the green scam that's being pushed down your throat. With this new bill that was signed recently into law with old bedriddens, the shit that Manchin gave in on. It's going to invest in, so much green energy and, green jobs and yada yada, right? But at the same time, anyone with half a brain can easily research the fact that none of this shit is actual, stable or is going to provide, right? I mean, the leader in this whole green movement is supposed to be Germany. Am I correct? And it seems like they're struggling to even heat their houses. I mean, they're talking about restrictions to where basically if your thermostat's turned up over a certain degree this winter, they're going to come and get your ass. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I hate to laugh because it's not funny, but what the fuck else are you going to do for this situation? But, like I said, again, old bedriddens, he signed this bill where, they're going to invest in green energy, green companies. It seems like we've seen that before. Huh? I mean, all those companies and millions of dollars that you just saw, that's all wasted. It's all gone. You know what I mean? That was money that you were charged, taken off your check, or was borrowed for. Now you're being charged not only the debt but the interest, and you have nothing to show for it but bankrupt companies and corrupt CEOs and whatnot that got away with giving themselves millions of dollars of bonuses out of your tax dollars. And it's a far cry. Right? I mean, these cars, obviously, like a Tesla, you take, right? Dude, dope, right? I mean, you think like, oh, I'd love to have a Tesla. In reality, it's not like you can go somewhere far with that shit, man. You know what I mean? You're gonna get a couple hundred miles, then what? I know where I live. You drive a couple hundred miles in almost any direction, you're probably going to be in the fucking middle of nowhere, man. You sure as hell are not going to find a charging station. Are you shitting me? But, until these cars can travel long distances, go over terrain, and again, like here where I live, right in the desert, you got to have the AC crank to drive around the vast majority of the year, and obviously that's going to drain your battery. Back home where I'm from, Michigan, you're going to have the heat cranked in an even larger portion of the year, which again, is going to drain that's them stinking batteries real quick. I mean, these leftists act like batteries create energy or something. They fucking store energy created, right? And then charging stations. I mean, do you got the cash to get one of those installed at your house after getting your $70,000 fucking Tesla? I mean, there's a small percentage of the country that does. A couple million out of hundreds of millions, man. I mean, it's not really about saving anything. It's about a status fucking, thing. It's a look at me. I can afford a $70,000 car and keep it charged. And something to moral grandstand on, like a holier than thou type situation. But I mean, and then with your houses, right? I mean, it's going to cost so much to heat and cool your house already, right? And then you add on to that, now you're charging one, two, sometimes three, sometimes four vehicles at your house, depending on how old your kids are, if you're married or whatnot. And on top of that, it was more like let them eat cake situation. I mean, you got, a large portion of the country that's been struggling, and, inflation through the roof, obviously, cost of everything crazy. And what's their answer to your woes as far as fuel costs? Buy an electric vehicle, you fucking plebe. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, like I said, the main portion of this is okay. We got our little talk. I showed you some stats there on money that's been spent. But I gotta let you guys hear what happens when a real statesman gets in the ass of one of these lizard overlords. It's pretty classic shit. Got two different clips for you. It's Congressman Tom Massie. Real mind here, high intellect. He crushes people on a regular basis. It seems that that's his job these days, rather than to legislate. They need this man, really. And if he wasn't such a little howdy-doody looking fella, I'm sure he would have already climbed the corporate ladder, or I'm sorry, the political ladder rather. But check this shit out. I'm sure you're gonna enjoy it, man. If not, I don't know what the fuck to tell you. You know what to do. Like, share, subscribe. Come back for some more bullshit. Smell you later.
I'm going to read part of your statement back to you. Instead of convening a kangaroo court, the president might want to talk with the educated adults he once trusted to fill his top national security positions. It sounds like you're questioning the credentials of the president's advisors currently. But I don't think we should question your credentials today. Isn't it true you have a science degree from Yale? What's that?
Bachelor of Arts degree.
Is it a political science degree?
Yes, political science.
So how do you get a Bachelor of Arts in a science?
Well, it's liberal arts education and degree. It's a bachelor.
Okay, so it's not really science. So I think it's somewhat appropriate that somebody with a pseudoscience degree is here pushing pseudoscience in front of our committee today. I want to ask you...
Are you serious? I mean, this is really serious happening here?
You know what? It is serious. You're calling the president's cabinet a kangaroo court. Is that serious?
I'm not calling his cabinet a kangaroo court. I'm calling this committee that he's putting together a kangaroo committee.
What, are you saying that he doesn't have educated adults there now?
I don't know who it has yet because it's secret.
Well, you said it in your testimony.
Why would he have to have a secret analysis of climate change?
Let me ask you.
Why does the president need to keep it secret?
Let's get back to the science of it.
But it's not science. You're not quoting science.
Well, you're the science expert. You got the political science degree. Look, let me ask you this. What's the consensus on parts per million of CO2 in the atmosphere?
About 406 today.
Okay, 406. Are you aware?
350 being the level that scientists have said is danger.
Okay, are you aware? 350 is dangerous. Wow. Are you aware that since mammals have walked the planet, the average has been over 1,000 parts per million?
Yeah, but we weren't walking the planet. Let me just share with you that we now know that definitively at no point during the past 800,000 years has atmospheric CO2 been as high as it is today.
The reason you chose 800,000 years ago is because for 200 million years before that, it was greater than it is today. And I'm going to submit for the record.
Yeah, but there weren't human beings. I mean, there was a different world, folks. We didn't have 7 billion people.
So how did it get to 2,000 parts per million if we humans weren't here?
Because there were all kinds of geologic events happening on Earth which spewed up.
Did geology stop when we got on the planet?
Mr. Chairman, this is just not a serious conversation.
Your testimony is not serious. I agree.
Secretary Buttigieg, I've been driving an electric car for 10 years, and I've had solar panels for 15 years, and I'm really bullish on technology and the way it could help make our country energy independent or more energy independent. But I'm really alarmed at sort of the naivete of those who are promoting rapid adoption of these technologies with our existing infrastructure. President Biden signed a non-binding executive order stating that 50% of vehicles sold in the United States should be electric by 2030. Do you support that?
Yes.
And he also said that by 2035 that 100% of the federal government fleet should be electric. Do you support that?
Yes.
So which uses more electricity? We're talking about residential electricity here. A refrigerator when it's running or an electric car when it's charging in your garage?
I would expect a car.
Would you say it uses twice as much or 25 times as much?
I would think closer to 25 times as much. Yeah.
It's actually 50 at the instantaneous moment, but over the course of a year, if I take the numbers from the U.S. Department of Energy about the average household, how many vehicles they own and how far they drive, over the course of a year, an American household would use 25 times as much electricity for their electric car as they would for their refrigerator if they had 100% adoption. And the average family has 2 vehicles, and this would be if the average family had 2 electric vehicles. Do you think it would strain the grid if everybody plugged in 25 refrigerators in every household?
Well, if we didn't make any upgrades to the grid, sure. I mean, if we had yesterday's grid with tomorrow's cars, it's not going to work. It's one of the reasons why we believe that infrastructure includes electrical infrastructure and argued for that to be included, as it thankfully was in the bipartisan law.
Do you think by 2030, which is when Biden says 50% of cars sold should be electric, do you think the grid will be capable of handling electric cars?
It's going to need to be, and we're working with the Department of Energy every day. We've established a joint office of energy and transportation to map out some of the needs. Obviously, some of this gets outside of my lane, and we've been discussing with, for example, the truck stops that are looking at what their power needs would need to be at an interchange where today they're mainly filling up on gas in order to accommodate that. And then, as you mentioned, a lot of the scenario for this is also residential. But it's also worth pointing out that while a typical driver who adopts electric is using more electricity, at the end of the day, they're using less energy because of the efficiency benefits of getting that energy produced at utility.
The problem is
instead of
we
burning
don't have the
fuels in your car.
capacity to produce that energy. You aptly used the word need. You could say want as well. There's needs and wants to make this fantasy work by 2030, but the reality is the capability is not going to be there. The average household uses 17% of their electricity for air conditioning. And that would mean the average household uses 1,870 kilowatt hours per year for air conditioning. If that average household plugged in electric cars, do you know how much more electricity they would use in comparison to the air conditioning that air conditions their whole house?
No, but again, I would emphasize it will
Well, let
be
me help
less
you. Let me help you with
overall.
that first before we go on, because the numbers are important. It would take 4 times as much electricity to charge the average household's cars as the average household uses on air conditioning.
I was going to put him.
Idiots.